Why, hello there. Good evening, or morning, or afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you're watching this. Today we're taking a look at Route 4, which is our latest module, releasing next Tuesday, so in just 2 days. And Route 4 is all about routing signals through your Eurex system using gates and triggers for control. In this patch, I'm using Route 4 in conjunction with Step 8 to create different sequences. As I change the switches on Route 4, we get different variations. And what's happening here is that we're taking different voltages from Step 8 into the routing input, and then switching them on and off using the gate output. So Step 8 is not really working as a CV sequencer in this patch, but it's providing a set of voltages that are being added together using Route 4 at specific steps. So Route 4 is all about routing signals throughout your Eurex system. And the basic idea behind the module is that it provides a way within the system to do controlled switching. So within the Joranalogue system, we already had switch 4, which is our performance switching and routing module, fully manual, using rotary switches, toggle switches, and so on. We've also got Select 2, and that has the select input, which selects between two inputs. Route 4, in a way, combines those. So there's no manual control, or at least not directly. Everything is done through gates and triggers. But it also provides mixing functionality, or it can send a signal to multiple destinations. and the mode switches make it very playable. So I hope you all enjoyed that little patch using Route 4. Now, of course, Route 4 has a lot more applications than just toggling these pitch values on and off. And we'll explore these later on in the stream. But I believe right now is the time to see who would like to win one of these modules. Because anyone who watched last month's live stream on Delay 1 will probably remember that we gave away a Delay 1 module to a very lucky and very happy winner. And we're going to do the same with one Route 4 tonight, shipped worldwide, doesn't matter. All you need to do, well, I'll tell you in a little bit. Now, you might also remember that we had a little bit of trouble with the Joranalogue slot machine. So what happened is that we had the synthesizer decide who was the winner of the Delay 1. We've since made some upgrades, and we have the Joranalogue slot machine 2.0 coming up later on. It's much improved, and most of all, it's much faster this time. So stay tuned for that. Now, if you want to win one of these modules, Route 4, all you need to do is put in the comments, I want a Route 4. So that's all. And please try and avoid misspelling anything. Just type in the comments right now, I want a Route 4. And then we will record the entries. And later on we will select a winner. So I'm just gonna patch or rather play with this patch a little bit more while we record the entries of the giveaway. And then we'll continue taking a deeper look into Route 4. So that's it. We are closing the entries right now. So if you didn't type I want a route 4 in the chat and you want to win a route 4, because maybe you don't, I don't know, don't forget to do it right now. Ah, that feels a lot better. Without the patch cables surrounding it, you can see route 4 here lit up in our system. And it lives next to step 8, because that's a good place for route 4 to live, I think. And that's actually where the idea of route 4 came from. Because with step 8, we finally had a module within the system to do sequential work, but we didn't really have a way to send CV to different destinations under control. And with Route 4, or the basic concept that evolved into Route 4, you can combine multiple step 8s to create much more complex sequencers. And not simply a 16 step or 32 step, but also making combinations between them. Now, to develop Route 4, we of course went the Joranalogue way. So despite it looking quite digital, perhaps with the control inputs and so on, there's no microcontroller inside this, just like in the rest of the series. This is a module that's fully CMOS logic. So that means it's very fast. You can clock these control inputs at 20 kilohertz, no problem. Now, development of a module is always an interesting process, and the people who watched last live stream might remember the big breadboard for delay 1. On route 4, we have a slightly smaller breadboard. And the reason for this is that it's a very different circuit. We've got analog signal switches being controlled by CMOS flip-flops. And it's really not necessary to test the whole circuit before on a breadboard. You can test only one of the flip-flops or two of the flip-flops. So that's what we did here. So this development was a little bit more simulation-based than, for example, something like a delay 1 or even a filter 8, which has a lot of analog signal processing going on, where you would have a big breadboard. Now, from this basic breadboard, we then move on to the first prototype. And of course, as it goes with prototypes, we had to make some changes. You might or might not be able to see this on the stream, depending on your device and video quality. But this initial prototype is littered with mod wires and a little board with SMT parts I've added to add an interesting feature that we will discuss later on. And then after this, of course, we can continue to the finished module you're seeing right here. So we are doing a live stream. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. Tom, our technical streaming expert is standing by to read your questions, and let's see if we already have some. Okay, no questions as of yet, but feel free to send them and we will feature them later on. Let's take an in-depth look now at what Route 4 actually does. How does it work? We've got an 8 HP module with two almost identical sections, top and a bottom. On the top are 4 routing inputs, 4 LEDs, 4 control inputs, and an output socket. On the bottom is 1 input, 4 control inputs, and 4 outputs. So you already see that on the top we have a 4-to-1 signal router. Up to 4 signals can be mixed together into this output. And on the bottom is a 1-to-4. One signal can be sent to up to 4 destinations. And of course, we have control input for each of these channels. There's also switches. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. These are identical. And they determine how the control inputs work. In gate modes, they are simply gate controlled. So I plug in 5 volts and I activate this channel. I unplug the cable. Channel is disabled. And you also see that on the LEDs, you always see the status of the symbol of the status of the module rather, live. For each control input, we have a white LED, and then we also have red and blue bipolar LEDs, which you might already recognize from filter 8, from generate, from select, and so on. These show you the actual analog output and input voltages on these sockets. Now what happens if I go into latch mode? Now I unplug the cable, but this channel is still active. I go to the next one, and you see that we have toggling action now. So in latch mode, route is controlled by triggers rather than gates, by a rising voltage edge. And the same is true for the bottom section, where we find the exact same switches and the exact same functionality. The second type of switch is a solo multi-switch. And this determines whether one or multiple channels can be activated. So for example, on the bottom, I go into solo modes. We still have 3 active channels because the module only responds to incoming voltage changes. And then I plug in to the first channel and the others go off. So in this mode, there's only one output active. And the same is true on the top, only one input active. In multi-mode, I can activate multiple channels. And being able to do this separately for each of the sections is a really useful tool. It's a lot of fun, actually. This is the kind of module that takes a little bit more creativity because it doesn't process the sound, it doesn't create the sound directly, but it controls signals throughout your system. And that's what makes Modeler so interesting. Patch programmability, being able to change the signal chain throughout your system on the fly. And that's also why we have modules like Morph4, like Pivot2, that really make Modeler what is Modeler. There's some useful normalizations on Route 4 as well. On all of the top inputs, we have a precision 1 volt normalization. So you get 1 volts even if you don't have anything plugged in. And you can see that if I activate one of the channels, we get this red voltage. That's 1 volt. I can turn some more on. Go to multi-mode, of course. And the LED becomes brighter. So now we have 4 volts. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can transpose pitch sequences using gates and triggers very easily. And those gates and triggers might be derived from step 8, might be derived from an external sequencer, but may also come from compare 2, which extracts gates and triggers from analog voltages. So I hope you're starting to see the possibilities here that Route 4 opens up within a system. There's another normalization path in Route 4, and that's between the top section output and the bottom section input. And this turns the module into a kind of 4-to-4 signal router, where up to 4 inputs are mixed together, and then the resulting mix can be sent to up to 4 destinations. So if you want to take all of this and condense it into a little block diagram, we have that as well. And we should be able to show you that. So here you're seeing that we have a 4-to-1 router being controlled by the latching controller with switches to set the modes and control inputs to actually enable or disable channels. And that resulting mix is then normalized into the input of the 1-to-4 router with 4 outputs on the bottom and identical control section. There is one more feature I'd like to mention. And this one is quite interesting because imagine if you're in solo mode and you have 2 triggers arriving at the same time, which one gets priority? What becomes the channel to activate? Well, to solve this logic conundrum, we've come up with a global reset feature. And what this does is whenever we have 2 active triggers in solo mode, this disables all of the channels. And that actually becomes a useful tool. It's a way to fully reset the whole thing. So let's see. I have select 2 in this case. Now we do seem to have an issue with this. Now, this actual module in the system is an earlier prototype, so might actually not be fully up to date, but of course this feature works perfectly in the modules that are heading to our retailers right now. What you should see is that when you have two simultaneous triggers on two control inputs, then all channels go off. All right, I hope you enjoyed that little overview of how the module works. And now I'd like to try something slightly different, a little patching intermezzo. Route 4, as I said, is it can handle just about any signal you can throw at it. And even the control inputs have Schmidt triggers built in, like the gate and trigger inputs on all of our modules. So, and let's go to gate mode. You'll see that it takes 3 volts of select 2 to enable a channel, but it takes 2 volts to disable a channel. And that makes these inputs really, really useful because they always trigger reliably, even if you have slow signals going in, noisy signals. That 1 volt threshold window really helps in making the module do what you expect it to do. So how about we try using Route 4 at audio rates? Why not? For this, I'm going to patch up my little sequence again. But this time, simply using the scan output of step 8. Sending that into generatory. And we can take some of these outputs and send them to the control inputs. And you'll already see that Route 4 is responding to these signals at audio rates. We get some interesting timbres. What's happening now is that we are switching the channels on and off at audio rates, and 1 volt normalization is being switched on and off. The result is a quite a complex waveform, but resulting or consisting of pulse waves. And of course, we can play with the switches. And get different timbres. If we patch this through delay 1. We got some interesting sounds. Next, I fetch an envelope to delay one. And add a little kick drum. This can go through filter first. So quick exploration of the audio rate possibilities of Route 4. I see there's a couple of questions here, so let's take a moment to answer these. Is an issue of gate versus latch mode, the global resets. It can happen in both situations. So in gate mode, in solo, you can have the same problem. You're trying to enable two channels at the same time using a gate, but if they arrive at the same time, then which channel or which gate should be listened to? So the problem arises in both cases actually, and the global reset feature is turned on or works in both settings of the gate latch switch. Interesting uses of Route 4 in combination with Step 8. Well, of course, switching between multiple Step 8s is a great one to create much more evolving sequences. But also what I did earlier, just taking some voltages from step 8 and switching them using different gate outputs of step 8, or even just using the 1 volt normalization and a fixed offset and creating an evolving melody that way, which, thanks to the latch feature, can be a 16-step sequence because you're switching it on when step 8 passes a certain step, and then the next time it goes around, you're switching it off. And I'll demonstrate this with a final patch later on. I see Ian asking, can you share a unique feedback patching you've discovered? Using Route 4, actually, to be honest, I don't remember encountering any interesting feedback patches, which doesn't mean they don't exist, but it just means they're still out there for you to explore. Are we going to sell those 1 HP LED panels? Right now, we don't have plans, but if there happens to be enormous demand for them, we can look into it. We just thought it would be some nice eye candy for our stream, but maybe in the future we can find a way to make them actually producible, because right now it's very much a handmade affair. Nicole asks, will Joranalogue modules ever have black panels available? This is a question we sometimes get. It's not something we are planning at this time because there are quite a lot of disadvantages. One thing, if we would have modules with both variants available, that means we basically have to produce twice as many modules, or at least twice as many variants. Both variants would be more expensive because it just takes up more stock room, and we would probably produce less of each variant. So the front panels get more expensive, and it just reduces efficiency overall. Another reason is that the look we have, or the styling of our modules, is very important. It's a unique look, and it makes our modules very recognizable, stand out, and they look very nice together, at least I think. And black panels, well, everyone is doing black panels, and you will no longer recognize a Joranalogue module as being a Joranalogue. We could also sell the modules the panels just separately, but then we are asking our users to replace the panels, which always incurs the risk of modules getting damaged. So it just adds overhead for us as well. So we understand that there's people who really like the look of a fully black system, but it's not something we are planning to do right now. I do have to say that there's quite a lot of people who combine Joranalogue modules with an otherwise fully black system. So they might go for a row of Joranalogue and the remainder of the system black, and that actually looks really cool. Totally honest, that looks amazing. So don't discount that option as well. Rotti, did I pronounce that correctly? I hope I did. Does the switching click? And if so, is it a feature? That's clever. Yes, it's a feature. Well, the problem with clickless switching is that you can't do that at audio rates. So once you say, okay, it's going to be a clickless switching circuit, that means that you're not able to do what I just did, is switching at audio rates. So it reduces the versatility of the module quite a bit. That's why we've opted not to go for a clickless circuit on Route 4, neither on Select 2, by the way, because it's just so much fun to be able to switch things at audio rates and create or process audio signals that way. Ian Hoffman asks, have you had any fun patching experiences while developing the module with the behavior of the top section in solo mode, where all channels are reset when multiple gates come in at the same time? Um, yeah, it can actually be interesting, but it really depends on the patch, of course. It's mostly interesting when it's an route for controls a layer of the patch. So of course it's not so much fun if, for example, all the audio disappears when all the channels are off. But it's interesting when it's, for example, switching some pitch CV and you just return to 0 to baseline level, or it's controlling different layers, actually different additional sound effects that are being turned on and off, or different voices in addition to, for example, a bass line or something. So then, yes, it actually creates some nice musical moments. And I believe that's all of the questions so far. So thank you very well for sending those in. And I believe the time has come to select a winner of our Route 4 giveaway. I'll have to remove this patch, so bear with me. One moment, please. Oh, that already looks good. Doesn't that sound amazing? Okay, first of all, we'll need to know how many entries are in our giveaway. And that's gonna determine how many times we have to roll the dice, so to speak. Okay, we have 53 entries. So that means we're gonna roll 2 times. And then we're gonna do a little bit of mathematics, nothing crazy. And the number that comes out of the slot machine is, so every entry is assigned to a number. We get the resulting number from rolling 2 times. And that person who's assigned to that number is going to win route 4. Let's go. This is number 1. Ooh, keeps going. All right. That's a 4. So we need to subtract 1 for our mathematics. And we multiply that by 8, we get 24. And the second one, we will add that number, and that's going to be our lucky number. Here we go. Oh, it's gonna stay. Yes, that's a 6. We subtract 1 from that, so it becomes 5. And that means our number is 29. Do we have a name? So of course we feed this number into our analog computer, which takes up most of the room next door. And it takes a little bit of time, but we insist on using an analog computer for this. The name of the winner is Vinask with a C at the end. Okay. I don't think that's that person's legal name, but congratulations, Vinask. You are the winner of Route 4. Please do get in touch, and we will make sure this module gets your way as quickly as possible. Now, if you didn't win Route 4, don't despair. The modules are on their way to our amazing set of Eurorack shops around the world. Over 40 right now. If you go to the website, you will see the link dealers on top. If you click that link, you will see the full list. We have shops worldwide in almost every continent. If your favorite Eurorack shop does not yet list Route 4 on their web shop, on their web store, or they're not offering pre-orders yet, please do get in touch, because the initial batch is limited in size. It's going to take a little bit of time before we have more modules available. So definitely feel free to get in touch with your favorite shop to make sure you can reserve your module. And that's it for our live stream tonight. Don't forget, the release date is Tuesday, 12th of September, so just 2 days, when Route 4 hits the shops. And in case you missed it, we had the Delay 1 live stream last month, as I mentioned before. In the last few months, we also released Pivot 2 and Bias 2, our series parallel router. And Bias 2 is a very useful little utility for converting between voltage ranges. So definitely check out those in case you missed them, because they are really cool modules. And with that, I would like to thank you all very much for joining us for another pleasant evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it is. And we wish you happy patching and a lot of fun with Route 4. Take care. I like that sound.